On today's Locked On NBA Game Night, it was a fun but short Saturday night in the association, but that did not stop the star power from having multiple great games, upsets, and more, including Josh Giddey's spectacular night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Let's get it going on Locked On NBA Game Night. I'm Rylan, Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder. That's Gavin, Schall, host of Locked On Knicks, and we're here teaming up for Locked On NBA Game Night, where we recap the night in the association. Our night is Saturday night, but this show is every single day, 7 days a week, recapping every game across the NBA as we inch closer to the playoffs. Gavin, tonight was a shorter night of hoops, but still a really fun night.
Yeah, it was exciting, and we got to start off in LA. Josh Giddey, your guy, a unique stat line in NBA history, right? 15 points, 17 assists, 10 rebounds, 8 steals. No one has ever done it before. Matas Buzelis, a career high, 31 points. They overcome Luka Doncic absolutely cooking in the first half. And look, blinking, you would have missed it, because I think most people checked out on the Bulls maybe, 2 weeks into the season. They've been playing some great basketball. They've won 7 of their last 9, and this felt like an exclamation point running over a Lakers team. And more importantly, like a Lakers defense that had been pretty dominant the past, almost 2 months now. So incredibly impressive showing for the Bulls, incredibly encouraging performance for a franchise that really hasn't had a lot to celebrate for, since Derrick Rose tore his ACL.
Yeah, this has been a franchise that has lacked that excitement since that date. But, I think that this Bulls team really has something. Now, not specifically this year. They're in the play-in. Maybe they can get frisky in that play-in tournament. But if long-term, watching the way that Buzelis plays off of Josh Giddey and the way Josh Giddey played tonight, plus Kobe White was awesome tonight, like they have kind of a foundation now that you can feel good about. And I'll admit, watching this game, I was drinking the Lakers Kool-Aid, and you look at the first quarter and the start of the second quarter, and, it was a back-and-forth game. This game had 16 lead changes, which you wouldn't know it based upon the second half, but 16 lead changes, 5 ties, and the Bulls couldn't get separation, and the Lakers would retake the lead, and it felt like, okay, the Lakers with LeBron coming back, they're a little bit playing with their food, but they're going to turn it back on at home. They're going to wrestle this game away. But no, it was the Bulls who swelled their lead to 34 points and started growing that separation in the middle of the second quarter, recovered from a lull at the end of the second, beginning of the third quarter. They recovered to still put their foot back on the gas and accelerate through the finish line of this game. And it was in large part due to the foundation that is so exciting in the Windy City. But we have to talk first about Josh Giddey. 15 points, 17 assists, 10 rebounds, 8 steals. He almost did it. He almost did the four double, the quadruple instead of a triple double, but he did secure the triple double, 1 for 2 from 3, 45% from the floor. And Josh, I thought, was just awesome defensively on top of the 8 steals, looking at his screen navigation, trying to slow down Luka Doncic, who Luka still had a good game, 34 points on 55% shooting. That's just Luka. Like, Luka's going to be incredible, but that's what we've talked about on game night whenever we've had these Bulls games. This is a team that's played a lot on our Saturday nights. And it's just like when Josh is really dialed in defensively, his size at least lets him compete. Now, he's never going to be a good defender, great defender, but his size, it lets him compete if he is engaged as a defender. And he was tonight from the word go. And I think it really helped the Bulls keep this game close until they could get separation and blow this game out. But Josh on the ball in a role that he's tailor-made for. And this was the big disconnect of why he didn't work out in Oklahoma City, because he just didn't have the ball in his hands. And for good reason. The Thunder have Shea and the Bulls don't. And so the Bulls can give him more opportunity on the basketball, and he's been able to thrive with it. 17 assists was just eye-popping, 10 rebounds as well, and the 15 points. But then you had Kobe White next to him, who had 36 points on 70% shooting on a Lakers defense that's been really good, especially since the All-Star break, even since the trade deadline. They've been an excellent defense. So just put up 36 and 70% shooting on anybody is a good night, but especially against what this Lakers defense has been. And even on down, you have Buzelis with a career-high 31 points. You have Vooch, who gave you 12 and 12. This team, is a younger team than the Bulls have had previously, and they play like one. They play together. They play off of one another very well. You always have had to look at Josh Giddey through an interesting lens in terms of how do you build a team around this guy who can't play off the ball, who does not have a good ceiling defensively, but has talent. And the fit and pairing next to White and Buzelis is really encouraging, and I think it should make Chicago feel more comfortable with giving him a payday this summer and kind of keeping this together. Because the thing about this Bulls team is, I think that they play connective basketball. I think that it looks like they enjoy playing together, and that's been bearing out over the stretch. You mentioned the wins that they've racked up here in the second half of the season in these last couple of weeks. So I think that Chicago will be a tough out. It's not going to be a team that maybe survives the play-in as that 9 seed right now, but I don't think that it'll be a pushover game for that 7-8 loser in the second play-in round. I think that they're going to beat the Heat. I think that they have finally something that you can call a foundation for their team. And with the Lakers, they got back LeBron James, but LeBron only had 17 points. I thought that whenever you give the context of he's coming back from a groin injury, I thought he actually looked good with the burst and with his athleticism. He just has to get back into the groove of NBA basketball. And Luka got that frustration foul technical, pushing Josh Giddey, and it was frustrating, I'm sure, to watch these Bulls light you up. But it was just a game where the Lakers couldn't recover from a really slow second half start, and I thought that it bared out at the end of the game. And the Lakers, they're going to have to keep their composure and gain some of that momentum back now heading into the playoffs. But I think that they're going to be able to do it. I thought this was more about the Bulls tonight.
Yeah, and look, the Lakers were, I think they were just due for a game where this defense completely fell apart. Like, you give Jackson Hayes a lot of credit, like a guy who many people didn't see as an NBA rotation player, and he's kind of like scotch taped that unit together. Dorian Finney-Smith, I think a deserving candidate at this point for an All-NBA team. He was in foul trouble all night with 5. He only plays 21 minutes in this game. Like, give JJ Redick and like this whole coaching staff a lot of credit, right? Because I think they played over their heads defensively relative to their talent. And on a night where LeBron comes off of injury, he's not going to quite be fully ramped up at full speed. Newfound urgency to get back, wanting to play with Luka, wanting to play with Austin Reeves, who's looked like an all-star since the all-star break, and certainly since the LeBron injury with how efficiently he scored the basketball. So to your point, nothing bad about it for the Lakers. For the Bulls, I mean, they are just a whole lot of fun to watch right now. But we move on to Indiana and Brooklyn. Indiana, second straight close win over the Brooklyn Nets. Fourth straight close win overall. They had those two buzzer beaters, Obi Toppin, Tyrese Haliburton, 108-103 over the Nets. I thought getting Haliburton back made a world of difference for this team. 16 points, 12 assists, 8 rebounds, but just the way he gets the basketball moving across the board. Indiana in this game, 32 assists on 40 baskets. And you just see Haliburton, like, his unselfishness is really a superpower. And I know that's corny, and you could say, like, all right, if he wasn't 6'5" with like a feathery jump shot and like a very functional handle, like maybe, and just a passing genius, maybe that unselfish instinct doesn't matter. But you just always see him make passes that I don't think anyone else, like at his level of stardom, even considers making. Like, they had this great sequence where it was Turner to Naismith to Haliburton. He had a pretty open 3. Instead, zips it right back to the corner, skip pass to Turner. And it's just a pass that, like, you see it. And Rylan, you watch a ton of NBA. You just don't see that pass thrown that often. So I know that's a simple play, but it stood out to me. Some of his shot making early in this game, like crazy swooping layup across the lane, between the legs, crossover, pull up 2 in transition. Like, he was really moving. He had good juice. For a guy who went into last year's postseason, like, just absolutely not looking like the same dude he was early in the season. Obviously got off to a slow start this year. I just like the way he looks physically right now. And I think that's an encouraging sign for an Indiana team that certainly offensively hasn't hit the same heights they did a year ago. Pascal Siakam, great job closing this game out. 8 points in the final 3.5 minutes. The Nets, meanwhile, had this big run to get back into this in the game. Got it to 92-91. They only scored 3 buckets in the final 4.5 minutes of this game. And quick shout out to Miles Turner, 22 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks, makes 5 threes. His sister had a medical emergency before the game. Her name is Mia, was taken out on a stretcher, but according to Miles Turner, she's all right. Just wanted to send best wishes to the entire Turner family, and happy to hear that she's doing okay. Impressive that he had such a great night considering the circumstances.
Yeah, best wishes to the family, of course, and I'm glad that you mentioned it. I'm glad that you mentioned Halliburton's unselfishness. It kind of reminds me of like a great quarterback who makes receivers better, and it's just like that unselfishness coupled with his elite passing ability. Because if you're unselfish without that ability, like you mentioned, it doesn't really matter much. But the ability to set guys up in position to succeed rises the tides of shot quality, which directly links to shot efficiency and scoring the basketball and helping this offense. We do have our local expert, Tony East of Locked On Pacers, to break this game down.
Again, it's a close one for the Indiana Pacers, and again, they win it. Their 4th straight win by a combined total of 18 points, this time beating the Brooklyn Nets 108-103. This one felt very different from the first 3. First 3 of the comeback nature, exciting finishes in a way that make fans feel excited about the end of the game. This one, Pacers were up 20 after 3 quarters against the lowly Nets, felt like they were finally going to play a normal game. And then they were terrible, giving up a 21-2 run to start the 4th quarter. It was a tight, close game that they had to find a way to finish. Didn't feel nearly as good. They talked about learning lessons from this game, but they will, because they won, and this game will be remembered as a win. Tyrese Haliburton returns from injury, 16 points, 12 assists. They had him on a very slight minutes limit. He looked very good, but the front court was the story for the Pacers. Haliburton saw some traps. Tyrese Haliburton got the ball to Siakam and Turner. They were both excellent, combining for 48 of the Pacers' 108 points in this game. They improved to 41-29, going to be 500 or better. We'll have much more on Locked On Pacers.
Tony has been a trooper sending in on his takes on these shows, and we've gotten the Pacers a lot on Saturdays, and he's right. It's only weird games for Indiana. They can only play the strangest contest, but they did get the win, and they did improve their record. Coming up, let's talk about the Golden State Warriors, who embark on a road trip that starts without Steph Curry, and your New York Knicks. But first, I want to say right now, my good friends over at Upwork, go check out Upwork today, because scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility in connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, from IT, AI, web design, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or Upwork can help you hire full-time help that's simple and affordable if you need it. Finding the right talent is now easy with Upwork. If you need help for a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who will deliver you incredible results. Posting your job is free and simple. Within a day, multiple qualified candidates are going to be there for you to choose from. Instead of hiring full-time help, you can even go to Upwork helps and get affordable top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect the top talent and grow your business today. Also want to say right now, but friends over at FanDuel, go check out FanDuel right now, because March Madness is here, and FanDuel's giving you a chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet hits. That's $200 in bonus bets on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting the nets down when your first $5 bet wins. Make sure you go check them out today at FanDuel.com to get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. And if you only like the NBA, you can make sure to bet on the NBA as well at FanDuel, including the Thunder Clippers, where the Thunder are 2.5-point favorites on the road against the LA Clippers. Go check them out today at FanDuel.com. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Game Nights podcast. We're back talking to you about the NBA on NBA Saturday Night with Gavin Schall, host of Locked On Knicks. Gavin, let's go to Atlanta to hear about how the Hawks beat the Warriors on the first night of this Warriors road trip without Steph Curry, from our local expert, host of Locked On Hawks, Brad Rowland.
Hello friends, my name is Brad Rowland. I'm the host of the Locked On Hawks podcast, and the Hawks get a very nice home win on this Saturday evening over the Golden State Warriors. They built an early lead in this one. They were comfortably ahead, up by as many as 22 points in the second half. Got a little bit dicey down the stretch, but the Hawks really played very well offensively most of the night, despite some not scalding three-point shooting throughout the game. I will say at the end that changed with George Niang going nuclear with 6 threes in the second half of this game. But overall, it was impressive offensively for the Hawks. Defensively, it was kind of hit and miss, but certainly good enough to beat the Steph Curry-less Warriors on this night. But the Hawks were underdogs coming into the night, according to our friends over at FanDuel, and it was still not enough to fall short in this game. So with that said, they have a quick turnaround going into Sunday, hosting the Sixers in a game that they probably should win, but nothing's ever a given in the NBA. In the meantime, a very nice win for the Hawks on this Saturday. We'll have more on the podcast coming up.
Nothing is ever given in the NBA unless you're playing this version of the Philadelphia 76ers. You should absolutely go win that game if you're Atlanta. I thought that this game was impressive for both sides, and I'll tell you why. Because Atlanta did grow that 22-point lead, and it was impressive to watch them down the stretch as that lead got dwindled down below 10 points at times in that fourth quarter, the later stage. And Golden State is putting on a full court press on Atlanta. To watch this team handle that and still get the win against Golden State and protect home court, I thought was really impressive for Atlanta to do. Equally impressive for the Golden State Warriors to keep fighting whenever, in the NBA, we can't criticize these guys, Gavin, and talk about how soft the league is, and these guys don't try, and these guys don't care anymore, and then see a team that's down Steph Curry on the road that has every reason to pack it in and not care once they get down 20, continue to bring the fight for 48 minutes and try to get a win. Ultimately, they come up short, 124-115. Atlanta wins it. But I thought that both teams handled the end-of-game situations very well. Even Zachary Shai had 14 points on 50% shooting as he continues to put together a really solid rookie season. It was Trae that had 25, 10, and 5 for Atlanta. And then Dyson Daniels. I mean, the 3 steals, not to his Australian brethren's mark tonight, which is rare to see Josh Giddey get more steals than Dyson Daniels in a given day. But still, Dyson Daniels is really special for the Hawks as they get this win. But ultimately, this was a really fun game. It's right up there for one of the most fun games of the night because of that in sequence. I mean, I just can't get over the Warriors full court press. I thought that was really good stuff.
Yeah, and look, the when we're talking about people crapping on the NBA, I think a more nuanced and fair crap on the NBA, if I'm the crap assessor here, is the middle of the East and the bottom of the East just being garbage. But you look around, Chicago 7 out of 9, Atlanta 6 out of 8. Is it against the best competition? Did they get a little lucky tonight with Steph Curry being out with that pelvic contusion? Yes and yes, but you know what? A win is a win, to your point. And Golden State, all of a sudden again, there is some magic in a team that has just been dominant over a long stretch, right? 14-2 post All-Star break. Coming into this one, I believe 13-1 in games that Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry both finished healthy. Like there is some of that pride back, and you saw that from Golden State, right? Brandon Pajemski, who I think it was on a Saturday night, Rylan, and we were talking about it, that last game before the All-Star break where they get blown out by the Lakers and Steph has to shoot 35 shots. He's being triple teamed. The Warriors make this amazing comeback down the stretch. And all I can remember from that game is Pajemski just bricking wide open threes. And there was no confidence. There was no swagger, to use a term best applied to a McNeese State manager. There was no aura. And Pajemski in this game, 5 of 8 from 3, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. He played his butt off. He just looks like a different player, way more confident. Moses Moody, since the All-Star break, 12 points a game, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 46, 41, 93 splits, just 22 years old. He's looking like he's going to be a player for a long time. He had 20 points. And Jimmy Butler is still showing you he can elevate his game when it's needed. 20 points, 10 of 14 from the foul line, 8 assists, 4 rebounds. I love Golden State just running these backdoor lobs to him from Draymond. It's such a fun way to get him touches around the rim, because to me, certainly, even if you include the entire league, but certainly the category of guys who don't have spectacular run and jump athleticism at this point in their careers, Jimmy is just inexplicably deadly around the basket. He will just throw pump fakes out until either you take yourself out of the play and he gets a layup, or he gets fouled more often than not, and gets to go to the line. And I love that Draymond, like he did the same thing when they played the Knicks recently, is always looking for those. But this night, to your point, was about the Atlanta Hawks. I've been about as big of a Trae Young hater as you can be. I think most people who cover the Knicks and are partial to the Knicks naturally are. I've told you, Rylan, I'm torn on it because I'm a big Oklahoma fan, but the hate's overcome the love until this season, where I have just been, every time I watch Trae Young, I walk away thinking that guy is just inarguably one of the top 10 players and one of the top 10 offensive players in the NBA. And that even might be a little low, even in a year where he's not shooting that well. Two things that stood out to me in this game: his ability off the ball, just continuing to get better. People, I know Zach Lowe always harps on it like his whole career. Like, can you use him a little bit more like Steph Curry? Well, now he's throwing a hit ahead to Dyson Daniels, running to get the ball back, full sprint into a floater. Like, he used to just sit when he gave up the basketball. And there's just a little more of that. And that has made him so much more deadly. And then, like, I think the greatest part of his game, more than the step back shooting, is just his ability in pick and roll to play the cat and mouse game with a big and drop. And he just makes, like, he now has like all these release points that look like lobs, and he can wait for a big to commit until the last possible second. He's in midair and he sees the big, says, you know what, I don't want to give him the lob, sits back on Okongwu, and Trae says, that's great, and then just flips an underhand shot that looks exactly like a lob as he's coming down. I really don't know how you stop it. Like, you have to basically be Rudy Gobert, like an all-time great drop big defender to hold that off. The Hawks got off to such a great start in this game, 38-18, 12-2 run to get that far. Just 6 turnovers. Brad Rowland had that stat in his podcast through the first 3 quarters of this one. Onyeka Okongwu, 18 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 41% from 3 post All-Star break on just 2 attempts per game, but that's impressive. Dyson Daniels also shooting 41% from 3 on 2 attempts post All-Star break. He hit 2 from the corner. Onyeka hit 2 in the first half. It feels like all these Hawks role players, like given the fact that they kind of consciously made themselves worse at the trade deadline, all these guys stepping up across the board, high energy, high effort, really fun win for Atlanta.
Yeah, very good win for Atlanta. And I think that the Trae Young evolution off the ball has been something that they've been trying to get out of him since he was at your beloved Oklahoma Sooners. And he hasn't done it to this point until this year. And it's made him a better player. It's made him a more impactful player for the Atlanta Hawks to help them get to that 7 line. And look, I mean, it's still possible that they're going to be able to be frisky in the postseason. You've seen better than anyone what Trae Young can do, the Trae Young magic once he gets into the playoff setting. So we'll have to follow that all season long. But Gavin, coming up, you're going to tell us about your New York Knicks and how they slowed down the WizKids on this Saturday night. Plus, Milwaukee went and played a game against Sacramento to wrap up the shortened slate on this NBA Saturday night. But first, I want to say right now, good friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Go check out 5 Hour Energy because daylight savings has snuck up on us yet again, and I'm still feeling the wrath of daylight saving times, that loss of an hour of sleep. That's where 5 Hour Energy has your back. It's the extra sunshine, which means more fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through and make the most of it. Whether you're staying up late to watch the NCAA tournament or squeezing in a round of golf after work, you want to make sure that you can keep up with your busy day. 5 Hour Energy gives you the quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. Make sure you check it out today because we've all been staying up way too late this weekend watching the tournament unfold. Tennessee didn't stop playing until midnight tonight against UCLA, so we had to make sure we were powered up for this show, and that's when you go in for that 5 Hour Energy. So head to 5hourenergy.com and find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, peach mango. You can build your own 12-pack or 24-pack and have it delivered right to your door. If you need one right now, go grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
We're back on Locked On NBA Game Night. I'm Rylan Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder. That's Gavin Schall, host of Locked On Knicks. And Gavin, tell me about your New York Knicks because they took on the Washington Wizards, who, while they're not even close to a good team record-wise, they have been a spunky young team, capable on any given night to give you trouble, including sweeping the Denver Nuggets just last weekend. And they have Alex Sarr, who's been playing exceptional since the All-Star break, really. Bub Carrington is able to go off. Keyshawn George is a great defender who can score as well. But none of those guys got going tonight against New York. How did they do this without Jalen Brunson?
So first of all, let me emphasize your don't take anything for granted point. The Knicks were coming off getting blown out by the Spurs without De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama, and the Hornets. So the Knicks really could not take anything for granted against this team, and they almost did after taking a 31-point lead, 82-51, early in the third quarter. The Wizards, I'm going to do this math on the fly, a 37-10 run to get it to 92-88. This has sort of been the case with the Knicks all year, where they have these great dominant stretches in games. And I feel like even though they are now 25-2 or 25-4 against sub 500 teams, and again, 2 of those 4 losses just came this week, it feels like they never get clean blowouts. It feels like these teams always come back, always make a run. Yes, the Knicks punch back, 15-2 run from there, put this game away. But it feels like the Knicks have these really long stretches where they struggle. But it was before all that. I'm gonna sever myself and pretend that second half was my outie. This is my innie talking. In the first half, the Knicks looked incredible. Mikhail Bridges at 24 points, including 20 in just a red hot second quarter. A lot of it set up by Marquette's own Tyler Kolek, who Knicks fans have been begging Tom Thibodeau to insert into the rotation without Jalen Brunson. Kolek was incredible in the second quarter. First player in NBA history. And this is basically the first time in 2025 he's gotten substantial first half playing time. He had 7 assists, 3 steals, no turnovers, plus 15 rating, plus minus in that quarter. First player to ever do that. And 5 of those 7 assists were for threes, like over and over again, just like passes on the money to Mikhail Bridges. We were talking about Tyrese Haliburton's unselfishness. Kolek is smaller, less of a shooter, less athletic, but a lot of those same instincts as Haliburton, where like he is a guy who like the way, like I'll credit my buddy DJ Zula for this analogy, like the way someone like, I don't know, like Chris Middleton, like hunts his own shot, like Tyler Kolek hunts shots for other guys. And before him, like it was Campaign in the first quarter, 10 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, who brought that like pass first presence that, as much as Jalen Brunson is extraordinary and a genuine MVP candidate, the one flaw in his game is that like he sometimes doesn't make those simple, like functional passes in pick and roll. And when you have a play finishers as good as Mikhail Bridges, as good as Karl Anthony Towns, sometimes you don't have to overcomplicate it. You don't have to get into the lane, draw 3 or 4 guys, and then sling it out. Like you can just flick it back to Cat on a pick and pop. You can just send it cross court to Mikhail, filling his lane in transition. That's what Kolek does. That's what Campaign did, at least tonight. And I think that really lubricated the Knicks offense on top of Josh Hart, who just looked like the Walking Dead these last 2 games. Like he brought a lot of energy, pushing pace, cutting in the half court, making himself available, and allowing himself to have value where like if he's not active and he's not playing with some spunk, not using some 5-hour energy, like teams just play off him, and he really becomes a negative offensively. Karl Anthony Towns, some great bully ball. I think teaching Alex Sarr a lesson or two as a rookie. He's been playing really well, and ultimately all that combined with some hot shooting from OG Anunoby was enough for the Knicks to hold on in this one.
From one Eastern Conference contender to another, with Milwaukee getting a win, they also needed some 5-hour energy. Playing on the West Coast, had to make a 14-point comeback and get this win over Sacramento. But it was Giannis who had 32 points, 17 rebounds, when was able to get the job done for the Milwaukee Bucks. Whenever you look at Milwaukee and this win over Sacramento, what do you make of the Bucks and what they've done here down the stretch of this season as we enter the home stretch before the postseason? What'd you make of this game and their future outlook?
Yeah, so look, there was some real concern in Milwaukee this week. Like your Thunder, as you know, Rylan, took care of business 121-105, and then the Warriors hold them to just 94 points. So they really needed to get the offense going. They had kind of a make good win against the Lakers. You take that one with a grain of salt, obviously. No LeBron in that game. And then to continue this West Coast trip with like a comeback win against the Kings. And the Kings were playing really good basketball in this game, had what a 12-point lead at halftime. And in the third quarter, I flash back to this is 20 years ago now, which makes me sad. But playing NBA Live 2005 with two of my friends, I was like 10 years old, and we decided to make 3 players who were just 99 overall and everything. My friend Oliver, he made his guy 7'2", and it was just like it became a joke of a game. Obviously, like the 7'2" guy dribbling down, like super fast, super strong, could just fly over everyone. And maybe just because I haven't watched the Bucks in a while, but in the third quarter, I was like, well, Giannis kind of looks like that made up player I had in that video game that one time where like it just didn't matter. Like at one point, Jake LaRavia tried to pressure him full court, and Giannis took that personally and just dog walked him down the court, threw a little elbow, said get the F off me, and then just jammed it. And that happened on like 4 different plays. Like had another one where he runs a pick and roll with Brook Lopez, snakes the pick and roll, spin move on Jonas, and one finish inside, like hitting mid-range jumpers, ends the third quarter swatting Zach LaVine at the rim to set up free throws on the other end for Kyle Kuzma. Like he just absolutely took over. And in the fourth, it was 2 unexpected sources, which I think the Bucks really need. They closed this game without Damian Lillard. And Kevin Porter Jr., he's been really solid for them overall, a little up and down lately, but 18 points, 6 assists, 8 of 10 shooting. The combination of him and Gary Trent down the game, Trent making 2 big threes, because DeMar DeRozan, like he came to play for the most part in the fourth, like scored on a one dribble scoop, 2-step layup to make it 104-103, then sprayed it out to Trae Lyles at the last second for a 3-ball to give the Kings the lead at 107-106, or excuse me, to get them within 1. Then he rose up over AJ Green to make it 108-107, 4:26 to go. Rylan, the Kings didn't score again from that point. They didn't score the final 4.5 minutes. A combination of Trae Lyles, 2 of the worst misses you will ever see from 3-point range. DeRozan and LaVine forcing up tough mid-range jumpers. Keegan Murray missing a 3. It was a great closeout by Giannis, but the Kings just died down the stretch of this game. And they continue to be, like how Matt George is fond of referring to them, our fantastic Locked On Kings host, a mid-team since this De'Aaron Fox trade, right? They'll have their big nights where like they have all these talented scorers where their guys all get hot and they beat the Cavs. But if everything's not clicking, and it feels like if all the stars aren't aligned, they can just go through these really dire stretches in Milwaukee. Whatever you say about them, they have Giannis. They had some big shot making from KPJ, from Gary Trent, and that was enough to get a pretty crucial win for a team that struggled to win big games at times this year.
It was. And, Giannis, whenever he is in that mode, he does look like a created player. He does look like a game-breaking player. He's one of the top 4 superstar takeover guys in this league. But, Gavin, this was another fun NBA Saturday night. Only a couple more of these before we get into postseason play. And how amazing will that first round Saturday night NBA game night be? Make sure you subscribe and turn your notifications on, rate, review the show. That way you can make sure you're there for whenever Gavin and I make history with our NBA playoff debut on NBA Game Night Podcast. For Gavin Schall, go find him Locked On Knicks. I'm Rylan Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder. Until next time, be good and be good to one another.